that doesn't mean like, God, give me a break, give me a break because I've already had a hard life. No, because there's going to be another thing and another thing, and you don't meet your quota. So you got to heal from these things because you're going to have another hard situation. Just when you think you've had the hardest situation ever, you're going to have another one. And so that's where I'm saying we've got to heal. The trainer today that I had said, you have to have a rupture and a tear to be able to repair and then trust again.
And here we go. You're listening to the Kings Can Move On podcast with your hosts, Jason Stewart and Frank Rainey.
Hey, what's up, everybody? You are here at the Kings Can Move On podcast. You got in the house Frank the Tank, aka Big Reno, aka my kid's daddy, in the house. What's happening?
And his co-host is Jason, and we'll leave it at that. You know who I am. Welcome to the Kings Can Move On podcast. Welcome, everybody. We got a special guest tonight. Frank, do the honors.
Yeah, man. I got my collar flipped up. Let me flip it back down. Stop playing because they should have flipped down.
Pop that collar.
Yeah, I got one of my best friends. I don't even call her my best friend because I call her my sister. She's my family. Known her for over almost 20 years now. We got Big Sandra in the house, aka the big boss Mexican, aka Kyle and Charliana's daddy, mama. What's up?
Oh my gosh. Hi, everybody.
You know what?
I don't AKA myself that way. Sandra works, but thank you.
Can I get a full name, Frank? Can I get a full name once at one? Just a full name. What's the name?
This is Sandra Pena in the house today. My lovely family here.
Okay.
How you doing tonight?
Good. I'm good. I'm trying to get situated over here.
How's that Dallas weather treating?
Muggy already. Yep.
Better than us. It's cold. It's still cold in Kansas City. So.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
What's the temp in Kansas City?
Like 50 something.
Wow.
Oh,
and it's been raining last 2 days, so it's cold.
We've had rain too. We've had some rain here too, but it's still muggy already. I would appreciate it. I like the heat, but it just gets hot and sticky.
Yeah. So Sandra, thank you for having us. Thank you for coming on to the program today. We wanted to talk to you a little bit about your upbringing, and then we're going to hit on something special because you and I have a difference of opinion on the child support system and how it works. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I want to talk to you about what you do, and because you're a director of a nonprofit right now, and you're doing big things. And I've known you since you were not a director, And so tell me a little bit about how you got to where you got.
So I'm originally from Corpus Christi, Texas. I went to undergrad in Iowa, and I went to grad school in Kansas City. And now I'm actually in Dallas working, like you said, as a director for a nonprofit, overseeing almost $9 million grant in the Fort Worth area. And so, yeah. So we came here because my fiance's job transferred him. And so that's how we ended up in the Dallas area. So kind of came back to my roots here, but I still call Kansas City home. I think I kind of grew up there, if you will, Mm-hmm. So I cheer for the Chiefs. I see you, Jason. And I cheer for the Mavs now, though. Kansas City does not have a basketball team. So, we're Mavs fans. So, yeah, and we're huge Royals fans, too. So I try to get out there to a couple of games. But, yeah, I've been at this nonprofit for about 5 years, and we support underserved families and children. We manage multiple childcare centers across the Tarrant County, which is Fort Worth, Arlington kind of area, North Fort Worth area. We service probably about 800 to 900 children a year, and we provide childcare service and support services for them. So I've been doing this for about 19 years now.
Yeah. Okay.
Long time of a lot of fun.
And you started off like as a social worker, right?
I started up with Child Protective Services in Missouri, actually. And so that was I think that's a good start for people coming out of school. That's a rough start. That's a
Yeah.
rough reality. That's a hard reality dealing with a lot of child abuse, dead children, unfortunately.
Oh, damn.
Right. A lot of abuse at the hands of their own parents and things like that. I mean, things you don't even want to think of. That was the first day I started working for CPS in Missouri. The staff were taking bets on how an infant died.
Ooh.
Wow.
And a mother had a child and put him in the trash can. And everybody was wondering if the child was stillborn or was the child alive, and the mom dumped him and the child died. And it was the latter. The child was dumped and died. And that was a big deal. It was big in the news. That was a long time ago at that time. So that was like the harsh reality of first going in. And at that time, cell phones weren't like super in,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? And so, when you're older, you think about it. When you're young in your 20s, you're not thinking about safety. I was out visiting homes at 9 p.m. by myself at night, in
Wow.
Northeast
Did
Kansas
you
City.
were you involved? I mean, were you here when that case of the Precious Doe was here, where that
I
kid
was.
got her head chopped off by her parents?
Yes, I had just moved to Kansas City when that happened, and that
Okay.
scared the crap out of me. Kansas City was at that time a big city for me. I was like 22, 21, 2 years old when I got to Kansas City, and that had happened right around that time.
So, Sandra, did you always have a desire to work in the child, I guess, protection system, or working with children, or was that always your passion, or did it change for you?
No, I wouldn't say that that's where I started. I really wanted to go to law school originally. I'd gone to Kansas City. I was in grad school. I had applied for law school. Actually, I didn't apply. I had taken the LSAT. I was pregnant of my oldest daughter. And at that time, I needed a job. And so I got the job with CPS, and I ended up taking the LSAT, had Tolly, and I never ended up applying at law school. So just a trajectory change, but what I did find was a passion. Okay, I have to say, when you're living in a low income area and you're living in the hood, I don't think we realize that. When
Yeah.
we're there, they're like, this is normal, right?
Hmm.
And then when you leave that, you realize, we had a bad school, bad kids. Everybody was always in trouble, fights all the time, stabbing and shooting and that kind of thing. But again, I don't think when you're in that, when you're living there, you don't realize it. And so once I got out of that, went to school, you start, and then I started working at CPS, you kind of see like giving back to a place where you came from or a similar place to where you came from, and really seeing that, why was I able to make it out? Who helped me along the way? And, try to be that person for other children who need that, tons of smart kids in the hood, it's just, they've got to find that right avenue or else they're going to fall and get in trouble and not make it out.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad for one that you didn't become a lawyer, because I don't like them. So I'm glad that you didn't become that. And I would have to fight. You and I would have to argue a different way. So
You probably could
Right.
for a
So
lawyer. You need a lawyer, dog.
I do.
Probably could.
true. I'd probably be doing pro bono work for you, Frank.
Show the
Right.
fuck wood. Show the fuck wood. Mm.
Yeah. So then I just developed a passion for that and really being able to serve. And then from there, I ended up transferring to a Head Start program because they were looking for a bilingual person. I was bilingual, and I'm like, okay, why not? Because CPS sucks. Let me get out of here. This is horrible. And I transferred and started doing case management for a lot of immigrant populations, a lot of from South America, and I really spoke a lot of Spanish at that time. I was using my Spanish more at that time. And so I did that. And that's how I got into Head Start. And then really that's where I kind of developed the passion between CPS and then working for a Head Start,
I didn't
really
know that.
giving back time for children.
Wow, that's pretty cool. I didn't even know that. I know you talk to a lot of the Latina and Latino population.
I was in KCK right downtown on 4th Street.
Yeah.
And We worked with a lot in Casey Cares. There was huge at that time, huge immigrant population, Guatemalan, El Salvadorian, and that sort of thing. And so those were most of my families on my case. So a lot of people that had come over the border, you know, whether they swam or they like hid in a truck.
Damn, what do you mean they swam? They swam from Guatemala?
From Mexico over the border.
Not to Kansas City, dog. They swam to the nearest border.
And I understand all that. I understand that, but that's still a lot of swimming.
So, speaking of Head Start, it's funny because my mom ran that daycare at home for years, many, many years. And she dealt with Head Start for a lot of years. And she had good and bad stories about Head Start, you know, about some of the rules, some of the things he had to go through to, you know, get what she needed. So it's funny you speak about Head Start.
It's very stringent. I mean, I say that there's a lot of regs. It's a federal program. You've got to follow a lot of regulations. There's a lot of structure, a lot of systems, a lot of tape that you got to get through. So yeah, for some people, especially people that have ran a child care center or family child care home, it is someone feeling like telling you what to do. And that can be difficult, especially if you're a business owner.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they'll take those funds away, right?
Yes, you can lose funding if you're not following regulations. Yes.
No.
Does just out of curiosity, does someone, if someone is under like a Head Start or a state-run program and someone else has a daycare, does that person that child that's under that Head Start program, does the state pay more for that child than if a child is coming in just off the streets and paying regular rates?
It doesn't work that way.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
I thought it did.
No, so you could either have private pay where, you know, you're just a parent off the street and you're paying your weekly tuition. When you are a Head Start child, there is no expense to the parent at all, zero.
Right, but I'm saying, does the state pay more to that to that daycare?
It doesn't work that way.
Okay.
They paying all the expense, right? For that child.
Right. So the money comes to the grantee, you're the recipient. The recipient is in charge of coordinating services for those children, those classrooms, those slots. So there's no more money. You get what you get. If you get $100, you get $100. You make it work for this many children.
You have to qualify for it, right?
Yes, you have to qualify. Yeah. So, yeah.
If you're enjoying this podcast, don't forget to subscribe and like us on YouTube and rate and follow us on your favorite podcast platform. Go ahead, Frank. I know you got questions.
Okay. So where does those funds come from? They come from the government, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here we go.
Which segues to my next question.
Here we go.
With that being
said, your segue, Frank. Okay.
This is some state funding, right? This is state funding that the government.
It's not state funding. It's federal funding.
Oh, excuse me. Federal funding that's handed down to the state
even
to disperse. Am I right?
No, no, it's not. It's directly federally funded to the recipient. It doesn't go through the state at all.
Okay.
Yes, there are programs out there that work that way, but Head Start that I'm familiar with does not work that way.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So go ahead, government Chuck. What's your question?
No, you go ahead. I'll get her here in a minute.
No, I didn't have a question. You were going somewhere with that. I know you were.
So the reason I even asked that is because I'm wondering, where does the government come from? Because my biggest challenge has always been, since I've gotten a divorce the first time, is child support. And reading into this within the years that I've read into this, child support is funded by the Social Security Act. 1935 or whatever year that was.
I mean, that's where it originated.
That's where it originated from, and that's where the funds from that's where the federal funds come from the jump, to give to the state to disperse out to these agencies. And I don't know exactly which agencies it come from, but I'm wondering, what is your opinion on this child support system? How do you feel like the child support system is broken? Because you have 2 kids yourself. and you don't you one of my nieces, they don't you're with her dad, so love her to death. And then
Oh, get it
one of
out. Get it
my
out.
oldest niece, you're not with his dad, you're not with her dad, but you are, but he does pay child support. So I'm wondering, what is your position on the child support system today?
Um, Opinion. Well, like a lot of systems with the government, there's a lot of work to do. They don't work for everyone. I think it's a mistake to make blanket statements like, oh, it sucks, or oh, it doesn't work. I think they work for some people and it doesn't work for some people. I heard y'all's podcast the other day with Carl. And it worked for him. It really worked in his benefit. I heard him say, he'd have to deal with his acts. It helped him be more responsible and that kind of thing. So it worked for him. It may not work for you or the next person. For me, it's kind of in the middle. It was a situation where, I don't necessarily sit and think, was it great? Wasn't it great? It is what it is. I don't sit here and say, oh, all of our systems are wonderful. No, I think that there's a lot of work to do for a variety of reasons. So do I think it's wonderful? I wouldn't use those words. Do I feel like there's a lot of kinks in it? Sure. And so I also think it's state to state, because I'm sure y'all are aware that child support offices are ran by the state, and
Right.
every state is different, and they have an ability to do different things.
Right.
And so the way they manage that in some states are friendlier than others to parents. So it just really depends on the situation.
Mhm.
So for you though, as being the mother and being the primary, parent, um, would you say that child support has been beneficial to you, or do you think you could have made it without it?
I don't know if I could have done without it. I think, if we go back, and my daughter just turned 18, so this is a long history. When
Love you, Tally.
yeah, she just turned 18. So to go back to that situation of where we were back when she was 4 years old or something like that, when that happened. It What was the question, Jason? What were you saying about that?
Do you
I
think it's
would say,
benefit?
for your experience, do you think that you really benefited from child support, or do you think you could have made it without it?
I think it goes back to kind of what Carl was saying, and I kind of agreed with him. It just gave me the ability not to have to talk about finances with my ex. We had so much animosity, and there was so many problems at that time, that talking about money was just another layer of problems, right? And so it just, it was what it was. At that time, I was young, and I was like, what, I don't care if I get a damn dollar. I'm just not gonna have to deal with your lying ass.
You
That's what
used to
I
say
felt
that
like.
too. You say that a lot.
I was not gonna have to deal with you. So I really didn't care at that point. And I made a good living, and I was gonna be okay, regardless. But I just wasn't gonna keep on waiting for the check in the mail that never fucking came.
Mm-hmm.
And that was frustrating, because and I was telling Frank this the other day. When we originally made an agreement, the agreement was that if there was no child support, it was an agreement on that you would pay half of private school.
Mm-hmm.
Tolly was either pre-K, I think, and you were going to pay half of private school. Well, guess what? When it was time to pay tuition, guess where I was? Looking for the half of the tuition,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't there.
I remember that too.
And I would get them. My car broke down, and my rent and this and that. And like, excuses. These folks don't care about excuses. They want their money.
But okay, let me ask you this though: if you guys were together and private school is coming up and his car breaks down, would you have been more accepting of that, acceptive of that?
We shared bills at the time we were together, so it was a joint effort. So we
Right.
combined everything. So there was not that. We were already planning and budgeting for those things.
Okay.
So sure, we had issues, or things came up. We had planned for those things.
So it's my opinion that, sorry Jay, but it's my opinion that that a child's raising and upbringing, a court shouldn't have anything to do with that. If two parents are not harming that child and and are in agreement to raise that child together. There could be times where that mother falls on bad times, and there could be times where that father falls on bad times. But in the end, you and I are still taking care of that child, and not you, me, and the state of Missouri or the
So
United States government.
who determines if the child is not being harmed in your theory of how it should work?
Me and that child's mother, because
Okay.
if that child is not being beat, then that child's not being harmed. If that child's not being cussed out, if that child's not being this, and again, help me with seeing another way.
Well, see, I think Frank. So you're looking at it from a standpoint of a child being harmed
Mhm.
versus a child being cared for, right?
Okay.
So I understand if you're together and you're sharing finance and you're sharing this goal of raising this child, but then you separate. Now you have separate goals,
Mhm.
and the primary parent, regardless of what their goals are, they have to provide for that child. There's no, oh, I can't because of this.
Mm-hmm.
But the
Right.
non-primary parent can say, oh, you got him right because I don't have this week or whatever. But the primary custodial parent cannot say, oh, I
Right.
can't because
True.
they just can't. So I think, so I have opinions on child support. I think it's necessary. I don't like how it's handled, but I do understand that a child must be cared for. And if the non custodial parent is not providing for, then something has to be done to say, hey, you got to step in and do something because you're not doing your part.
Well, here's how I look at it, because the government looks at it like, do pay your bill. That's how our government looks at it, in my opinion. So, but a government looks at it with that way with a child. But best believe, if the light bill doesn't get paid, the government doesn't step in and say, I'm gonna garnish your check and make you pay this light bill. And the government doesn't say, I'm gonna garnish your
Is there a
check and make you
law
pay this
about that
water bill.
though? There's a law about child services and child rear.
Bruh, don't get
There's
me on
no.
that,
Is there a
because
law about
yeah,
your utilities and
and
your?
actually the law states that the law is actually
You don't have to
is
have lights.
hold on, wait. The government has based the child support system off the Social Security Act of 1935. And so with that Social Security Act of 1935, it states that if a child is needy, a needy child, meaning if that child is about to be, or that mother is about to parent, I'm going to say parent, is going to be on any type of government assistance, state or federal assistance, then that other parent needs to pay their due, pay for that child, because the government shouldn't have to pay for that.
Yeah.
But in situations where if someone's making, both parents are making $75,000 a year, and they break up, then that child, then per the black and white system of the government of the Social Security Act, it says that it doesn't mention that. It doesn't mention that, but the child support system, the
I
enforcement
think,
agency
Frank,
says
so,
that.
I mean, obviously we've evolved from 1935.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think initially it was created for that reason, but
yeah.
ultimately it's for the child to have appropriate care and being able to raise a child. Do you know how much it takes to raise a child per year?
Oh no, I don't. But I know that the law states that there's, even since 1935, that law hasn't changed. It has been amended in 1974, but it hasn't changed.
How much? Say
So
it. How much? Give them a number.
right, 15,000, almost 15,000 a year.
Okay.
So in theory, it takes 15,000. Okay, half, let's split it. And that's for your middle-aged family. And I mean, yes, this is part of work I do. So to be fair,
Mhm.
but it's also, part of my experience, a middle income family paying upwards, you can pay up to like 20 something $1,000 in childcare a year.
Yeah.
And let's make up a story where you're getting $300 a month, but childcare is $15,000 a year, plus whatever it takes to raise that child. So it's really the intent to share the expense for that child, right? I mean, that's really the intent. And I agree with you. I don't always think that every situation needs to have government involvement, but there are situations that do need to have involvement because one of the parties is not being cooperative. And it could be for a variety of reasons. Crazy woman, crazy man, argument, domestic violence. There are so many issues why other people need to get involved. Yeah, in the perfect world, we'd work it out and we'd both agree to this amount and everything would be wonderful. That's not always the case. I have a friend who is like, well, I don't pay child support, and he's a male. I don't pay child support because I have the child 50% of the time. Well, guess what? I know you. And I know you don't have that child 50% of the time. And I know you don't buy that child clothes. And I know you're walking around with Jordans and looking fly. Your child's shoes don't fit them.
Right.
So just saying, there are situations, both women and men, that they need to be held accountable. And sometimes that comes from an outside source.
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
I see that.
I agree. And yeah. And like I said, I can see it. Like, I don't like aspects of the system. I think it can be tweaked because we've evolved past, that year that we started. But I think, overall, something is needed for some folks who don't step up and take care of the business. But, I want to kind of turn this around because, Sam, I sent you a text before this about something I want to talk about. So we know our boy here hates the government. He hates the system. But he also has some issues personally. I listened to our podcast today that we recorded some while ago, and it launched, I think, yesterday.
Which one, Jason? Because I've been listening to them, and I have to tell you, I'm extremely concerned for both of you guys.
So, what we're going to do now, Sam, is have intervention for the Kings. We're gonna have
which one of you? For which one of you?
It could be either one.
He said both of us fucked up, Jay.
It could be either one because we're trying to move on, and I think we're stuck. So,
yes,
I listened to our episode about forgiveness and healing, and not moving on.
I did too.
Oh hell!
And that was mainly
hold on
for Frank the Tank as he gets his doobie ready. I listened to it today.
What time out? What happened? I'm gonna stop drinking and smoking, Frank.
Well, shit, if this shit gonna be about me, I'm gonna tell y'all motherfuckers how I feel. Shit.
It ain't gotta be about you, partner, but we're about to have an intervention. Because as we said, if our goal is to move on, and we're going to preach that to others, we got to practice it right. We got to be able to move on. So I know child support is like a big deal for you. You hate it. I know it's very personal. I listened to our last episode we did that was today. And we talked about, you mentioned that you could pay your arrears off and be done with it and be clear and move on. But you have not, have you?
Sure haven't.
Right.
And Sandra and I even had an argument about this. Not even an argument, but we had a discussion about this last night. Well, we were on the phone talking about it last night.
You could do it, but there's this but to it. Like if I do it, it was tied to this thing about she would get off or not having to deal with some amount of crap that you wanted to be held accountable for.
Mm-hmm. So
I want to know, what's it going to take for you, my brother, my co-host of Kings Can Move On,
mm-hmm.
to put that chapter behind you and move the hell on?
Sandra, you and I talked about this conversation last night. What did I tell you?
He's not moving on.
Well, God damn it. This is it. We're
Not
done.
moving on.
Podcast over. We can't continue on.
No, he's not. You need
He
to change the
is.
title. Change the title of the podcast. We're not moving on. We're not gonna do it because I don't want to.
Why not? Why not?
Because he can't let go. You know, we talked about that, and I really appreciated Caro's comments, and Jason, even some of your comments. I'm like, yes, Jason, tell them, you know, but until you're ready, and clearly Frank is not ready to move on. And Frank, I was at a training today, actually, and I was thinking about you, and it's like, it's mind, body, and your thoughts, right? In mind. So your thinking affects your behavior. Your behavior affects your attitude. It's basic psychology, right? And so, and I was saying that to Frank the other day, you know, if we know things are jacked up, and then you start feeding that fire of negativity, then you're going to be in a bad mood and pissed off. Like, we already know that. So why do you want to feed that negativity by watching constant crazy ass YouTube videos? Like, stop feeding that crazy. If you truly want to get out of that negative space, stop it.
So here's my opinion. You guys have said your piece.
No, I haven't said my piece.
Say your piece. Say your piece, then, opinion. Say your piece.
No. Well, and I think that for those that are listening for the first time, or this is the first episode they run across, you know, the constant, you can't let go of what your ex did to your first ex-wife did to you, you know, and so you're hanging on, and unfortunately, that's in your space, and that's in your piece. And I was telling Frank that earlier, Jason, like, listening to these podcasts, and I've listened to several at this point, makes me sad and very concerned for Frank and Jason, a little bit, you too. But you know, it's just like, I
Jason
love
feels
you.
like he's done better now. Jason feels like he's moved on.
No, but at least Jason's going to therapy and trying to do what his therapist says. You know, there's no point in going to therapy and being like, fuck them. I'm not doing it.
No, I listen to my therapist when I go to her. She's great.
Listen,
you're great.
Frank said this is his therapy on his podcast.
No,
I'm not a therapist.
It truly is.
I'm not helping him.
Jason is not a licensed therapist.
I'm not saying Jason is a licensed therapist, but me getting this out, getting this out is a portion of letting that go.
But then when I suggest something, he's like, "Yeah, dog, I hear you, but I don't hear you. I hear you, but I don't believe you. I hear you, but yeah, it's cool. But whatever."
Ready to move on. It's someone who's not ready to move on. It's someone, but like I was telling him, we were saying, like you said, 28 years or however many years, this person who has no relevance to you is got control over you.
How long's it been? Say it again.
20-some years.
Shit, 32.
You know,
wait. Time out. Wait a minute. Time flies so damn fast. I've lost track. Are you telling me it's been 32 years since you've been with your first ex?
I first met her, yeah. 1990.
When did you get divorced? I know you know the date, because I know my date.
We split up in 04, and 2006 is when we divorced.
And this is 2022.
And we're still hanging on. And I was telling Frank, and you know, we talk about it. And Frank, we know your story because you're very vocal, both Jason and I and the viewers, that, you know, that was a hard divorce, a hard time, and you feel like she put you through hell. You know, we've all had bad relationships, fucked up relationships, right? And we've got to learn from them and move on, because if we don't, then we are trapped in those situations when people who ain't even thinking about us.
But you know what? The challenge with me is the fact that it's not that I love her anymore, because I don't. It's not that I want to be with her anymore, because I don't. And she's moved on. I doubt it. Very seriously doubt she wants to be with me. It's just the fact that when you Michael Jordan and the fucking Bulls. Michael Jordan and the Bulls. This motherfucker, when he played, hold on, listen. When he played the Pistons whooped his ass for what, 3-4 years straight, right? They whooped his ass. And it wasn't until he whooped their ass, that final year he whooped their ass, and he was able to continue to whoop ass at that point on. This woman has whooped my fucking ass since 1992. 92. So 30 fucking years. I want to fucking win. And you know what? I'm not ashamed
And
to
what
even
if
say
you
that.
never win?
So you're competing? It's a
Yeah,
competition
yes, he's in a competition in everything he does.
with
Apparently, in
your
all his
past,
relationships too.
with your
Because that's the
past,
thing. But what
dude.
are you talking about?
This
You
is
know what?
life. It's not a
It's just
sport.
no,
You're
it's
not
just a thing.
competing
It's
on the
just I was using that as an example, but it's just
you.
a thing of when someone continually beat you and beat you and beat you, and you know they are wrong.
But
You
but
know they are wrong.
You
but
know that
That's
you
listen.
the shit
cheat
that
there.
gets me.
But hold on, cuz. Hold on, cuz. Cause you my bruh. You my brother, and I'm be real with you for real, for real. You said she been beating your
You need
ass
to
since
stop smoking.
'92.
You need to
Since
like
'92, we came out of school in '91. You said she been beating your ass in '92. That is not true. You wasn't getting beat from '92 because you were beating her ass too,
Sure.
literally and figuratively.
I don't want some
That's real.
rounds.
Hold on, cause I wasn't done. You were beating her ass, literally and figuratively. You cheated. Uh, you had some wins.
Yeah,
You didn't just get you. You wasn't getting mopped and swept the whole time.
right.
Y'all had a tumultuous relationship. Nobody won.
right,
I don't know what you value as
right,
a win. What do you value as a
right,
win that she's winning? What does she win?
right,
What did she
right.
win? I don't understand that.
Thank you, Jason. And I was talking to Frank about that off air, talking to him about this is not we're not, it's not a competition. You don't get a point, I get a point, you get a point. Who was worse? Which one of us was the worst in this relationship? You're worse, you're horrible because you did XYZ. You win because you did. No, we all go through things. We all screw up and we
Mhm.
all get wins and losses in relationships. But if you're taking score and you're trying to get even at some point, that ain't never gonna happen.
Bro,
Mhm.
you gotta listen to our podcast yourself because there was an episode you actually said we shouldn't be trying to compete to win or lose. I know which one it was, but you said yourself out of your mouth. It
Mhm.
should be about winning or losing. And you just sit there and just told me you've been losing. You compared it to the Bulls playing the Pistons.
Yeah.
Get over the hump
Yeah.
of beating that team that's been kicking your ass for the last several years. And you feel that you can't get over the hump till you win. Nigga, do you know you're sitting right in front of me on a podcast talking about life issues and talking about moving on? Nigga, that's a win. I want you to realize that shit. This is a win.
I can dig
Us
that. I
growing
can dig that.
older, maturing, looking back on our life, the bad, the good, overcoming. All the shit you think she's won, you still here.
But you know what? And I hear what you're saying. And I told Sandra, I was talking to Sandra about this last night, and I said there's still just a portion of me that feels like she has gotten over so much. And first it was the fact that my family believed the bullshit that she was saying.
If you're enjoying this podcast, don't forget to subscribe and like us on YouTube and rate and follow us on your favorite podcast platform.
And and let me, I'm sorry, let me stop. Let me
From
backtrack a little
30
bit.
years ago? What are
Hold
we
on.
talking
Let me
about?
backtrack a little bit. Let me backtrack a little bit.
Oh my God.
As it stands today, my first wife, I don't I'm not coming down on you, because if you ever watch this, and if our middle son watches this, I don't want you to think that I'm coming down on you. I'm not coming down on you. I'm coming down on the situation. I'm hurt. I'm hurt over the situation that you feel like you still can have a right to the shit that you have a right to. I feel
If
like
that's the
you
case,
have a you have a
But Frank, what shit? What are you talking about?
I
a
don't want
right
to
to
get into that
what?
right now. I
Y'all
don't
don't
want to
even
say.
talk though.
Huh? But
Y'all
no,
don't even
no, I
talk.
understand. I understand the reason we don't
So
talk,
why
because
do
I
you
feel like
think
she's a
what you
liar.
think about how she feels? How do you know what she feels and thinks?
I've known the woman for 32 years. I've known her for 32 years. But again, I'm just saying, what I'm basically saying is I don't want her to feel like that still have that thing that I want for her. No, that's not it. I don't, and I don't want you to think that I'm just, when I see you, I'm a spit in your face or punch in your mouth or cuss you out and like that. I'm just saying that I still have just some issues that I don't feel like I'll ever get resolved with her. I honestly don't, because I was telling Sandra I want her to apologize, but she'll never do that.
Okay, so let's talk about that. And, let's go back to him. Frank and I have had this conversation and we talk about like, where do I get this shit from? I've had a lot of training, a lot of school, right? It's unresolved trauma, right? We all have had trauma in our lives. And if we don't heal from that trauma and deal with that trauma, it's never going to go away. And we keep putting it away and acting like, in the back of your head or whatever, but it's still there. And so
how do you deal with it when it's being constantly reminded in your face almost daily?
How is that
right?
Reminded of what? How?
Just period.
No. I mean specifically, how's it reminded you?
Okay, okay. On the 15th on the 20th and the 5th, when that check come out, that's how it's reminded me. When I don't talk to my son as much as I want to, that reminds me. When I don't get to talk to my oldest son, that reminds me. You asked, I'm telling you, that's how that shit reminds me.
Right.
Okay, so monetarily, pay it off. That'll be done. You ain't got to deal with it. Then what? Then what?
Well, I think that is, and that made sense for me, Frank, when you said that, the fact that you're still paying child support, and that is kind of picking at the scab, if you will. Yeah. And you can't, so maybe when that's done, you'll be done with that situation. But the fact that you harbor so much animosity over the situation, that is what's concerning as your friend. That you feel like that. And I think some of the comments that you've made in your other podcasts and even just talking, like nobody owes you anything. And I was going to say that to you, and that I've been through a lot of hard times in my life. There's no quota, like I've had enough fucked up shit to me. I'm in the clear now. No, because tomorrow's going to be something else.
Right.
I've lost my brother. I recently lost my mother. I've had bad relationships, but that doesn't mean like, God, give me a break, give me a break because I've already had a hard life. No, because there's going to be another thing and another thing, and you don't meet your quota. So you got to heal from these things because you're going to have another hard situation. Just when you think you've had the hardest situation ever, you're going to have another one. And so that's where I'm saying we've got to heal. The trainer today that I had said, you have to have a rupture and a tear to be able to repair and then trust again.
But how? Okay, so you guys are saying that you need to heal. How do you heal? So and that's part of the thing. But Kings can move on. And you know what? I feel like I've moved on from a lot of things. This is one of the major obstacles that I face.
It's major.
How do you heal from situations like this?
But you have to want to heal and you have to want to let go. And you have to be able to say the bottom line. And Jason, you said it on one of your podcasts is you can't control anyone but yourself. Right. You can't make anyone do anything. All you can do is manage how you handle people and how you handle situations. And so that's part of it, right? You learn from those mistakes and you stop dealing, stop letting people have that control over your life, right? Because what it's creating is like this fucking angry black man. And we don't want that. Like, you're just rah. Like, what? Like, there's no reason to be like that when we know that you can be very happy and you're a sweet guy, but you spend so much energy festering this hatred, this anger. Like, come on, do you know how many people I could be angry with?
But when I'm saying, I'm the nicest motherfucker in the world. But until somebody brings that stinger out, that Scorpio, when you bring that stinger out the motherfucking Scorpio's gonna fucking sting. Period.
So let me say this. It takes a lot of energy to be hateful. Right. A lot of energy to harvest and manifest hate. It does. And I'll say this, my dude. Listen, this wasn't intent to like bamboozle or
yes, it was. Y'all tested each other before y'all got on this motherfucking episode.
No, but listen to me for real, out of love.
All right, cool.
My shit ain't perfect, okay? You know my situation.
We all know, yeah.
Yeah. I'm working through it. But what I have discovered was I can't work through it through hate and anger and negativity.
Right.
I just cannot. No matter what the other person does, I can't let that direct my path. So I gotta attack
Yeah.
shit in a positive mode, irregardless of the outcome. You cannot control the outcome of any goddamn thing.
Right. Right.
All you can control is how you approach it and how you react to it. You cannot control the other person,
Right.
situation, or any of that. So
Well, and
all I'm saying is, we are all growing. We're all evolving. But you cannot grow and progress when you're dragging that big ass chain behind you and it's pulling you back.
Okay.
You just can't. And
What was you about to say, Sam?
she's on.
Well, she ain't even listening.
Yeah.
sorry. No, I agree with you. And I go back to trauma and I think of my mother who passed just recently. And, I think about, she that's a whole other podcast. She experienced a lot of trauma in her life. And, she was 70 years old. And like you never let it go. And it's like bag lady story, right? Like you keep on carrying it and carrying it and carrying it. And then what? You're never healed. You're never going to be happy. I tell my staff and they look at me like, you have to assume positive intent. You cannot go around here thinking somebody's trying to constantly get you or constantly, do something. And nobody owes you shit. No, this universe doesn't owe you anything. You could be the most perfect person in the world. You can be Mr. Helpful. You can be great and love, sweet.
You can get
Guess
dumped
what?
on. Yeah.
Something is gonna fucked up is gonna happen to you. And if you
Mhm.
go around thinking people owe you or this universe owes you, you're gonna be very disappointed. And so, how do you get out of that? And Cara was talking about that is, living life with grace, giving people grace, trying to live that. And you talk about wanting positive vibes, then you've got to have positive vibes. And right now, festering on this shit is not positive. It's not positive. How do we get out of that? I think step one is wanting to get out of that, Frank. It's not easy. Clearly, Jason, you're even saying that. I've been in bad places where people believe me, but I've got to get over that if I want to move on, if I want to be happy, if I want to be at peace, right? Because we can be stuck. You know how mad we could be a whole grudge. And Frank, you know me, I hold grudges. Right. I do. But I also know, and I tell my sister all the time, people don't make and break me. Their opinion of me, what they think of me, what has happened, I can move on because guess what? You're not paying my bills. You're not living my life. So I don't give a fuck what you think. And so you've got to have that kind of a personality where you've got to let it go because that's too heavy.
And that's something you and I have talked about, me and Jason have talked about, me and counselors have talked about. And so I feel like a portion of me has a huge portion of me is moving on. I'm part of that Kings Can Move On, but it's just that one little hump that I need to overcome. And
Are you
I'm not even trying to say that I don't. I'm not trying. I'm not disagreeing with what either one of you guys are saying.
But
it's just one of the things. No, it's not even a but. It's just something that I have to really talk to God, meditate, sit alone, and work on becoming a better me every day. Becoming a better me every day. I think I'm working on it. There are times where I feel like I'm taking 2 steps forward and I get knocked down and taking 5 steps back. And
that's
I think
life,
all of
though.
us have felt that.
That's life.
Yeah, you're right.
That's life.
So, and that's one of the things that I just say, okay, you know what? At some point in time, I'm down, down. But at some point in time, like, get over this shit. Get over this shit. This is one of the particular times where I'm not over it, but best believe it's in maybe tomorrow when it happens or next week, I'll be like, fuck that shit, And that's where I am. I'm on that seesaw. I'm on that seesaw.
Right. Trying to kind of get off the roller coaster, if you will.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say this: it's a journey, Um, I'm there with you.
Hmm.
I'm not gonna let you continue just to wallow in this shit. I'm gonna stay on your ass, like an
Hmm.
like like a like a punk ass boss on your back.
Punk ass motherfucking
Punk
bosses.
ass boss, nigga. I'll be there when I get there. Don't bother
Punk
me.
ass directors. Punk ass
Yeah,
directors of nonprofits and shit.
we gonna
Frank,
be on your
though,
ass. We both
to
are.
go full circle, and it makes me think of the whole child support conversation. Not that I love having this conversation with you, but it makes me think of, I think when two people that split up can't come to common ground and can't agree to things, then that's when sometimes other people have to step in. And so for us, that happened. I mean, we lived in different states. Jason, I know you guys live in different cities, and it makes it very hard. But I can say one thing about that, and I know it's very different from your experience, Frank, is that I made sure that my daughter was going to have a relationship with her father. I made sure that I transported her halfway. I made sure that we planned a long weekend every month and that she had a relationship with her dad. And because I knew when we were older, when we had to look back, when she had to look back, she wasn't going to blame me if
Right.
that relationship didn't work. And she's very close to her dad. And I didn't talk to her, especially at a young age, negatively about her dad. Regardless of what we went through and why we split up, I wanted her to have him in her life because I know how important fathers are to children.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's also a big difference.
And
That's not always the case.
and I can't say your name, brother, because and I know you and I love you, and I know that you love your daughter. I know that. I truly know that. And I know your daughter loves you. And one of the things that Sandra just said is she did make those concessions. And I won't even say what concessions you made, because after you left Kansas City, you had your life out there, and dog, whenever I see you, it's love. It's truly love. um but I will say that I understand what you're saying, and Jay, I even understand what you're saying, bro. I understand what both of y'all are saying, and that is an obstacle that I need to face, as well as 100,000, 200,000, millions of men and women need to face, is just that the fact of moving on. I'm not, and as we started this podcast, one of the first episode, I think the first episode, Jay, we said we're not perfect. We're not perfect. And we are continually growing. We're old, we're older men. We're middle-aged men now, almost. And so we're at that point to where even at that age, we're still learning. I know I'm still learning. And so I want people to help me and open my eyes up, and enlighten me. And I hope that everyone does that at this particular time, at whatever particular time in their lives.
Okay. So listen, she's on mute.
You're on
But
mute.
listen, I'm gonna close this out this time. I'm gonna get the last rant.
All right. Hold on. Let Sandra say something real quick, then
What
you
you
give
gotta
your rant.
say, Sam? What you gotta say?
Miss Mute.
I didn't mean to do that. I don't even know what happened. I don't even know what I was gonna say. Hell, go ahead, Jason.
I'm just gonna say this. Kings can move
Spit
on.
it out, nigga.
Kings can move on is a journey.
Yeah.
It's a constant growing experience. We're
Yeah.
not at a point where we can look back on everybody and say, do this way because we figured it out. We're still growing. We're still dealing with stuff, still learning. We're hoping our experiences can help somebody, but in the same time, we're hoping to help each other and
Yeah.
learn from our experiences and help you to move on. So, out of love, my brother, I'm gonna keep holding you accountable. I want you to say to me because I'm not high and mighty. I'm not there. I'm not. I'm still growing. I want you to grow. I want you to move on. I want to move on. I want Sam to keep on pushing both of us. Uh, I want people around us to really love us, really keep pushing us to be better.
Mhm.
Because at the end of the day, it's about evolving. It's about getting better. About being a better person. It don't matter what your situation is. Being a better person. whether you're dad, husband, son, whatever, being a better person. So again,
Uh,
this wasn't an ambush, but it was planned.
It wasn't, it really wasn't. But I think that just in general, when y'all talk about moving on, and Jason, you too, and me too, when you allow things to fester and you harbor the animosity because people have done you wrong, because people are going to do you wrong, that only affects you, your health, your wellness.
Not the other person.
You're going to end up sick because you're carrying all this stress.
Yeah.
And we already know that people with lifespans, especially Black men, y'all know that. You know, we've got to incorporate a healthy mind, body, and spirit. And harboring these things and this stress is not a positive thing health wise, right? And so we fester in that. And then you go watch crazy ass shows that also keep feeding that fire. No, like who?
It ain't crazy ass shows. It's the First Amendment right that where the police is talking about how they wrong, how they think they overpowering motherfuckers. Okay,
who wants to keep living in that?
That's a whole other podcast. That's not this podcast, brother. But listen,
that's
like she said, people that have hurt you and you're festering, they're not. They like, okay. They don't even, they're happy as hell. They don't even care what you feel.
About you.
They're
like,
not
thinking about you.
You're like, I'm mad at you.
Same thing for me.
They're like, oh really? I didn't even know. Didn't care. Peace out, bro. They're gone.
They're not thinking about you.
What you're the one. Don't make me shit.
Hold on. Exactly.
Right. They don't care. They don't care what you're talking about.
Listen. Give it up. Let it go. Give it to God and be gone with it. Yeah. Let somebody else deal with it, not you. On that note, if you like this podcast, subscribe and like on YouTube. Rate and follow on Apple, Spotify, Google, and the other podcast platforms. On that note,
thank you, my beautiful sister. Thank you, Sand. I love you.
Thanks, Sandra. I appreciate you coming on.
Love you, bro. Love you, Jay. Love you, Sand. Love both of y'all.
Kings move on, y'all. We out. If you enjoyed that episode, don't forget to subscribe and like us on our YouTube channel and rate and follow us on your favorite podcast platform.